Hi, in this video I want to teach you how to knit this summer sweater, cover up or summer blouse. It's very easy to make. Any beginner can do this piece. It's just knitted. In this instruction I said this one large, extra large, but I found that for a large it's a little bit too loose. It's better for an extra large. So I say to cast on 50 stitches for this one. Well, that will be 50 stitches if you want it extra large, and if you use the same size needle that I use to make it. But if just you want large, I recommend from 40 to 45 stitches, and from 30 to 40 for the medium or small or medium. So as I do this piece, I give you very details in how to make it for those beginners that want to try to do this piece. Well, I hope you guys like it and give it a try. And here is the list of material you're gonna need to make this beautiful top. To knit this summer blouse or top, the yarn I'm gonna use is from Loops and Thread Impeccable. Each ball has 128 grams, and we're gonna use 128 and like a quarter of the other ball. It's 100% acrylic, medium 4, and the color is Arbor Rose. It's like a beautiful coral color. You're gonna need scissor, tapestry needle, and I have 2 sets of needles here because for recording purpose this one is easier for me in front of the camera, the shorter ones, but for the piece this one is the one that I use. The longer ones, they are 12 millimeter or US 17. If you don't have the 12 millimeters and you have the 10 millimeters or US 15, you can use those. But if you start using thinner needle, the stitches are gonna look the same, and you'll have to cast on more stitches and do more rows. So these thick ones like these are perfect for this piece. So remember, tapestry needle and scissor too. We're gonna do 2 of these pieces, and it's very easy. Any beginner can make this, even the ones that just know how to knit. This is just knit stitch. It's very easy, knit back and forth, so it's no decrease, increase, or anything. It's just 2 squares, the same amount of stitches and the same length, the same amount of row, and we'll attach it on the side, on the shoulder, leave the collar, the open for the collar, and that's it. It's very easy for you to practice the knit stitch. And Sun is done with a thick needle. Look how nice and open the stitches. It's really nice. So now I'm going to show you how we're going to start doing this. To start, we're going to be casting on, so I'm going to talk a little bit extra in the beginning because I want to make this video for those of you that have never knit and want to give it a try, or you are a beginner and don't know yet how to cast on properly, or you are not sure how to do it, the length of the tail that you have to leave for casting on. I will show you how to do that. But if you already know how to do it and you are comfortable doing it, you can cast on 50 stitches if you are doing exactly the same size that I'm doing. That is like a large, almost an extra large, because it's very loose, so it'll fit those 2 sizes. If you want to do it from a smaller to a medium size, you can cast on from 30 to 40 stitches or 35. Don't have to be even number, okay? So to do that, to know the length of the tail that you need to leave to cast on, what you're gonna do is grab the tip of the tail and wrap it around your needle and start wrapping it around. If you have to cast on 50 stitches, you're gonna wrap it around 25 times. If you're casting on 40, you will do it 20. If you're doing 60, you will do it 30. Just like that. Half of the amount that you need to do. Like that. When you have your 25 stitches, let's pretend I have my 25, I'm gonna hold it just right there to mark my yarn, and I'm gonna pull it out of the needle. I'm still holding it there. I'm gonna fold it in half, and I'm gonna pass my yarn until I have double the amount. You see, it's double the end here. I'm gonna place my finger where the tail is here. You see, measuring the same length, and I'm just gonna pull it off. And like that, you have the length of the tail that you need to cast on your stitches. Here I'm gonna do my first stitch. That will be a slip knot. I'm gonna wrap my yarn on my finger and create a loop, crossing like that. I'm gonna pull it out, and this is the yarn that is attached to the ball of yarn, so you're gonna pass through that little loop, that yarn, and you're gonna pull the yarn from the tail, and you created your slip knot. You see, you can make it bigger and you can make it smaller. Now you're gonna grab your needle, you're gonna pass it through your loop, and like that you cast on your first stitch. To continue casting on the rest of the stitches, this is the tail, and this is the yarn attached to the ball. Here we're gonna wrap our yarn, the tail around the thumb, and the other side around the pointing finger. Okay, so with this one we're gonna hold that stitch there, that way it don't fall out of the needle. So I'm holding here and creating like a triangle. We're gonna come here with the tip of the needle around the yarn behind or in the front part of the thumb. We're gonna pass it through there. We are creating a loop. We're gonna bring the tip to the yarn that is attached to that finger there, and we're gonna wrap in that yarn with the tip of the needle. We're gonna pull our thumb and then pull the tail. Not too tight because we want this to be loose in here. Okay, so again, I already have the yarn in position, and remember, I'm explaining slowly and detail for the beginners. If you already know how to cast on, go ahead and cast the amount of stitches that you need to do. So again, you're gonna wrap the tip of the needle around here, create a loop. You're gonna just twist a little bit your hands like this, okay? And wrap the tip around that one. Pull it through. Remove your thumb and just pull. Again. Like that. You're gonna continue casting on the amount of stitches that you need for your piece. Remember, for the size that I'm making is 50. You can do 52, 53, 54, 55. Don't matter the amount, it's just the size that you want. Okay? So you're going to continue casting on. I'm going to do just a few more because I'm just doing a little piece because I already have my 2 pieces done. This is just to show you what you guys want to do. Okay? Just like that. For my little piece, I cast on 15 stitches. So now with the tail, I'm gonna tie a knot here to secure the first stitch, but not too tight. I don't want it to tie the first one. So you're gonna need, if you don't have a stitch counter, you're gonna need pen and paper or pencil and paper or a little notebook, and you're gonna mark from number 1, if you're gonna do it the same length as mine, from 1 to 62. Row 63 will be the casting off. So you're gonna mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that, and then each time you finish a row, you just cross it that number. Just in case if you go out or you stop working for some reason, you know how many rows you have done in your piece. Remember, this is for beginners too, so I tend to talk a little bit more. So now to start, this is the yarn and this is the tail, the piece of tail. you're gonna grab your other needle, you're gonna pass it through the first stitch. That's why you don't want this first row to be too tight, because you have to work with the two needles and sometimes it's too tight. You're gonna wrap your yarn behind the needle and on top, and you're gonna pull it through. And when you have that first stitch in the needle, this one that is here, you're gonna remove it from that needle, and like that you did your first stitch. Again, the second one, and you pull it out. Like that. See, you're gonna wrap it around, and just like that you are knitting. And this is all what you're gonna need to know to do this piece, just netting. So you're gonna knit back and forth. And this is why I needed the short needle, that way I can record better in front of the camera, because the other ones, they're a little bit awkward to work with. Here, like that, you see. You always pass it like that. Pull it out, remove that one, go to the next one, and just like that you finish your first row. And you're going to turn your work around, and you're going to mark that first row. Okay, you always have to mark your rows. It's easier to keep track of what you're doing, because if you're doing just one piece, it's no problem, but since you have to do two the same, you have to make sure that you have the same amount. And I'm going to show you another way to count to see if you have the right amount, just in case you make a mistake or you're not sure if you mark that one or not. So again, you're going to wrap your yarn through the back to the top, and just like so, like that, nice and loose. This is a nice and loose stitch. You can wear this not just in the summer, you can wear it in the fall, you can wear it in the spring. You're going to do it all to the end, and again go back with the net. Like that you're going to work until you have 62 rows. And you're going to do a few stitches off camera, that way you see how the stitches start to form. Look how nice that looks. Here I done 6 rows, and I just wanted to show you how the stitches start to look. It looks really nice. It's really open. And I start to create this line here. Those lines are the one that you can count if you make a mistake, writing down the amount of rows. And if you don't have nothing to write with, sometimes that happens, so you can count this. Okay, so you start 1, the first one, then 2, 3, and continue like that, and the same amount you do to one, you will do to the other one. So it's really easy. I wanted to show you too here. You see the first stitch here, once you finish that row, it's always big like that. But once you continue to do the next row, that stitch will get, tight. You see? Like the other ones. Like a little knots that start to form. So I'm going to do a few more rows for mine, and then I will show you how you're going to cast off or bind off. Remember, they are 50 stitches for 62 rows. I'm casting up in row number 63. And if you want it shorter, you can do less row, and if you want it longer, you can do more. Here I did enough row to show you how we're gonna cast off. And for you, remember 62 rows if you're doing it the same size as mine. And look how nice the stitch look, nice and open. So now we're gonna cast off. Now I'm gonna show you how to cast off or bind off. So you have to do it very loose because you don't want this part to be tight and this part to be loose like this, stretch. So you have to be careful when you do this part. So you're gonna start by netting the first stitch and the second one. And then here you're gonna pass the first one on top of the second one, and you're gonna cast off that one. Again, you have two, you pass the first one on top of the second one, and you move that one out of the needle. Again, you move this one out. You're gonna do this all the way to the end, and then you will end up with one loop on your needle at the last one. And then what you're gonna do is cut your yarn, leaving a tail long enough to sew the shoulder part at the piece. And when you have one loop like that, and you cut your yarn, you will grab through that loop the yarn, pass it through and pull to tie the last stitch. And now I'm going to show you how we're going to sew together our piece. Now we're going to sew the shoulder part, and look, one of the tail is in this side and the other one is in this side, because this is one side facing the other is the right side or the wrong side, but you can tell, but they have to be in different side, the tail. So now I'm going to grab my tapestry needle. Let me turn this around to show you a better look. And with the tapestry needle, we're going to sew in a zigzag here. You're going to bring it to the other side. You're going to sew there, and you're going to pass it a couple more times to secure that stitch there. Always in the beginning, at the end, you have to secure your project. So now you're going to sew in a zigzag, nice and loose. Remember, this is a very loose stitch, so you don't want to tie this too much. You want it nice and loose like the rest of the piece. You're going to sew in a zigzag, matching stitches with the stitches until you have the desired length. You're going to leave your yarn there. You're not going to secure it or cut the yarn. You go to the next side, do exactly the same, and you will count how many you did, do on the other side. And here, for the side of the piece, you're gonna come here. I don't left a tail long enough, but if you want, you can do that at the beginning. But for me, it will be easier to just grab a new piece of yarn, attach here, and start sewing. You're gonna sew in a zigzag, exactly the same as I showed you in the shoulder, but this time you're gonna be only sewing from these little knots that you see here to knot. See those two, and then in a zigzag, nice and loose, because this is nice and loose. You're gonna sew this until you have an open space big enough for your arm. You're gonna leave your yarn there. You don't gonna tie it secure or anything. You're gonna do the same on the other side, and then you try your piece on. If you like the size that you left for the opening of the arm, and then you secure your yarn, in both sides, and the same on the shoulder. But if you make it too small, you can undo a few of the stitches. That's why I ask you not to secure the yarn, because it's easier to lose the stitches that way. And the same on the other side. But if you did it too big, you just sew a few stitches more. So I'm gonna do mine off camera and I'll show you the end result. Well, here is the end result, and just love this top and the color. It's a little bit loose, but it looks really nice like that. Very summery. Very easy to make. And I hope you guys like it and give it a thumbs up. And subscribe to my channel if you are not already a subscriber. And if you make this piece and you want to send me some pictures, you can do that through my Facebook page, Ruby Stedman. Well, have a beautiful day. Bye.